All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're cracking open the mind of one of cinema's all-time greatest anti-heroes, Tony Montana. This is basically a masterclass on the psychology of self-destruction.
You know this line. It isn't just Tony being cocky. No, this is his entire mission statement. It's the engine for his incredible rise. But, and this is key, it's also the tiny seed that's going to grow into his spectacular downfall.
So let's get right to it, because this is the whole point of our deep dive today. Tony Montana wasn't taken down by his enemies. He was destroyed by himself. See, Scarface isn't really a story about a gangster losing to other gangsters. At its core, it's a textbook case study in self-destruction.
So here's how we're going to break this all down. We'll look at his self-inflicted downfall, Pacino's insane performance, Tony's rise as the hungry outsider, how that power leads to paranoia, the empire he sabotages himself, and finally, the legacy of all that excess. All right, Section 1, a self-inflicted downfall, the enemy within. And this is so crucial to understand. Tony's biggest enemy wasn't Sosa. It wasn't some rival gang. Nope. It was his own out-of-control ego and the fact that he just could not handle the power he was so desperate to get.
We're talking about a fatal flaw here, an unregulated ego. Basically, this huge sense of self-importance mixed with a total inability to manage his ambition, his paranoia, and his impulses when the pressure was on. And, the director, Brian De Palma, he set this up on purpose. He made it so Tony is the one who brings about his own end. That's a big switch from those old-school gangster movies where the bad guy has to, repent before he gets his comeuppance. Not Tony. He doesn't need anyone else to do the job. He's his own executioner.
Okay, on to part 2, Pacino's methodical chaos. We have to talk about Al Pacino. His performance is, it's legendary, right? But it's so much more than just great acting. We're going to see how he physically, with his body, shows us Tony's mind completely falling apart. It's like psychological architecture.
Just look at this physical transformation. In the beginning, you've got this early hunger. He's lean, coiled, always watching. All his energy is focused outward, right? But later, it's pure arrogance. He's bloated, expansive, his posture is just dismissive. That energy is just chaotic, completely fueled by cocaine and paranoia. Pacino literally mirrors Tony's mental state with his body. He goes from this hungry predator to a bloated king just rotting on his throne. It's brilliant. His body tells you the entire story before he even says a word.
And this wasn't just luck. Pacino built this character from the ground up. He studied Cuban refugees to get the accent and mannerisms just right. He only spoke Spanish with a cinematographer to stay completely immersed in the role. Those explosive outbursts, that was a choice, to show a total lack of control. He saw Tony as this larger-than-life operatic figure, and he even developed a specific physicality to show that volatile cocaine energy. This was a master at work.
And get this quote from Pacino himself. I thought it would be interesting if it got through the eyebrow. It was evocative of a chaotic wildness in this guy. How cool is that? Even the famous scar was his idea. It wasn't just a scar. For him, it was a visual metaphor for all the chaos and wildness going on inside Tony's head.
So let's move into phase 1, the hungry outsider rises. This is his ascent. And you got to admit, in the beginning, Tony is, he's compelling. And the reason is that all of his worst traits are laser-focused on one thing, getting ahead. He's a force of nature, and he's only moving in one direction, up.
And this is the arsenal he's working with. He's got that relentless immigrant drive for the American dream. He's absolutely ruthless. He's got this magnetic charisma that makes people follow him. The guy is fearless, He'll stand in front of a gun like he's bulletproof. And he truly believes, he has his own personal code of loyalty. These are the tools that make him so dangerous, but also so successful early on. They're his superpowers, really.
And this line, all I have in this world is my balls and my word, and I don't break them for no one. That's his whole mantra, right? It's the code he lives by. It's how he justifies everything he does, and in his own mind, it gives him this twisted sense of integrity. He 100% believes he's a man of his word.
But then we get to phase 2, power and paranoia, the illusion of control. Because as soon as Tony gets the power he's been fighting for, all those assets, they start to curdle. They become liabilities. And that tight grip he thought he had on the world, it starts to crack. And paranoia starts creeping in.
And it all comes down to one word: narcissism. This excessive obsession with himself. For Tony, it shows up as this belief that he's invincible, that he can't be touched. He refuses to listen to any warnings from anyone. And this is the paradox, right? His narcissism is the engine that powers his rise,
but it's also the very thing that guarantees he's going to crash and burn. It makes him blind to his own weaknesses.
And you can see how this power just corrupts everything. He becomes obsessed with dominating rivals like Frank Lopez. He has this deep need to control everyone close to him, especially Manny and Elvira. The paranoia just gets worse and worse as he becomes a bigger target. All the materialism, all the stuff, it just hollows him out. And of course, the cocaine addiction just pours gasoline on all his insecurity and aggression. It's a clear pattern. Everything he gets just pushes people away, and his mansion becomes this huge, beautiful, lonely prison.
Which brings us to Phase 3, an empire of sabotage, the collapse. At this point, you can't even say Tony is a victim of his circumstances anymore. He is actively, personally, dismantling his own empire. It's just one impulsive, self-destructive act after another. He literally becomes his own wrecking ball.
And look at how the dominoes fall. First, the restaurant meltdown, where he just torches his relationship with his wife in public. Then, refusing the hit on the family in New York. It's his one moral line, no kids, but it completely sabotages his deal with Sosa. Then, killing Manny. Just a paranoid, drug-fueled rage where he murders his only real friend. And finally, the last stand. Totally alone, he basically invites his own destruction in that suicidal blaze of glory. This isn't bad luck, people. It's the only possible ending for a guy who can't control his ego, his power, or his impulses. So you have to wonder, right? If he hadn't killed Manny, could he have survived? It's a really interesting question. Because killing Manny, that was it. That was the final nail in the coffin. It took out the one guy who was still in his corner, the one guy who might have been able to help him figure out a way to fight back against Sosa.
All right, last section, legacy of excess. What is the film's ultimate message here? After watching this guy's entire world implode, what are we supposed to take away from it? Well, the answer is baked right into the film's structure.
The whole film is structured like a decay. The violence keeps increasing, right? It goes from targeted hits to just mindless shootouts. His isolation grows as he pushes away his wife, his mother, his best friend. The paranoia just escalates until he sees betrayal everywhere. And it all leads to a total psychological decay, where he just loses touch with reality completely. The structure of the film is a mirror for Tony's mind falling apart. It's brilliant.
And when you look at the core themes, it all becomes clear. The American dream? For Tony, it's just a hollow chase for stuff, with zero spiritual growth. Excess? Yeah, power, wealth, and drugs corrupt, absolutely. Masculinity? It's all about aggression and dominance, and without any restraint, it just leads to ruin. And ambition? It becomes this destructive force when it's not disciplined by any self-awareness. At the end of the day, Scarface is a cautionary tale. It's about what happens when ambition has no brakes. Which leads us to this, maybe the most important takeaway of all. He became everything he ever wanted to be, but he never grew internally enough to actually handle it. And that's the tragedy of Tony Montana, isn't it? He got the world just like he wanted, but he never bothered to conquer himself. And that was the one fight he really needed to win.
There's a saying, a man who never fears the fall is blind to the cliff before him. That's Tony Montana in a nutshell. He was so obsessed with the climb that he never looked down, never saw the cliff he was running towards. So I'll leave you with this question to think about. Is the unchecked pursuit of power always, and I mean always, a path to destroying yourself?